timer is also base of the what it says on the page. This time the page number is the same. We're holding Ois Gimel. We were talking about differences in what Moshe Rabbeinu asked from Hashem, the idea of the Kisisas Roish, and that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to know how to raise up the Keren Yisrael, and the Pasuk speaks about the Roish, the head of Yisrael. And we said the head of the Yisrael is talking about the Neshama itself, the essence of the Neshama, the Abed Tivis, and that higher part of the Neshama, though it cannot be directly affected by Aveda, still in all, it causes, and it's something that could be, as far as the revelation of the essence, that it didn't shine into the Koiches Pnimium, could be impacted by the fact that the person did not do everything what he was supposed to do. Therefore, it's necessary to raise up the head even from its fallen state, from the fact that it didn't reveal and didn't have the gilui of the way it was supposed to be nizgal. So now he's going to continue in now contrasting the two expressions. The pasuk says Kisisas Roish B'nai Yisrael, and the Moshe Rabbeinu, the way the Gemara says, asked Bamed Tarum Keren Yisrael. How is the principle, the horn, going to be raised? So he says in Ois Gimel, page 2, it says in the pasuk, God of Achariaf Kol Keren Yisrael. Cut down in the anger. In your anger, you cut down the entire Keren Yisrael. We said it means principle. And we'll soon see it's also similar to a horn. They have voinus nasi. You did a gamba p'chinas hakeren shalamayla maroi. Through the sins, it becomes a descent also on the level of the principle, or the horn, literally, that's above the head. Like by an animal, the keren is on top of the head. So it's not just the head that fell down, and we need to know how to lift it up. Kisisas Roish B'nai Yisrael, but even more so, V'lachein Amar Moshe Amet Tarim Keren Yisrael. How Moshe Rabbeinu said, by how will the Keren Yisrael be raised up? Tzaddik l'Hagbil, the Roim Mesakeren Shalom Ma'ila Maroish. We need to raise up and uplift the Keren that's beyond the head. Affordable to the Torah, and it's explained to the Torah. The Keren B'chinas Keser. Keren is the level of Keser, just like crowns on top of the head. The same thing. Keren is the same thing. It's on top of the head. It's beyond the head. The Rebbe asks that seemingly something doesn't work with that. We need an explanation. This the fact that the head is beyond the head, is above the head. It's not only from the brain that's inside the head. It's also from the skull that's on over the brain. According to what's known, it's known that the skull, that means the skull that surrounds and encompasses the brain, that's the level of Keser. So if that's already Keser, and the Keren is over the Golgoilus, is over the skull, what is the advantage? What is the higher level of the horn over the head? So how is the Keren, or a principle, which we're talking about is higher than the head, how is that more so than the skull, which is already Keser, and you're identifying the Keren with Keser? We could say the Galgalta who Makif Rashayach Lepnim. Galgalta is the level of the Makif that's associated with the Pnim. Meaning the Dugmas Hagalgal Shaba Adam, similar to the skull by a person, Shemakif Sambayak, that it encompasses and surrounds the person. But it's still associated with the brain, and it's associated with the internal organs. So even though it's makif, but it has a connection with the pnim. Keren makif shalamayla mishayks l'pnimi, and that level of the keren is a makif that's higher than any association with the pnim. or become occurrence with Pirish HaKosav, like it's explained in many places, the meaning of the pasuk. Yodem Keren la'amoy, that he raised up the Keren for his nation. Koyal atzmus oirin sof shalamayla mesoiviv. It's going on the essence of the oirin sof, that beyond soiviv, that's the level that the Keren is being raised up for Amoy. That's the level that the Yidden tap in, that his nation taps in, the level of the essence of the oirin sof. So just like there's Malakalam. Malakalam is the level of godliness that's tailored to the world and permeates the world and fills it. Soiviv transcends the world, beyond the world, encompasses the world, but it's still Soiviv Kol Almin, it still relates to the world. And then there's Atzmus, which is beyond everything. So same thing, there's the Moyak. The Moyak is the top and the highest most level of the Koiches premium. The Golgoilas, the skull, surrounds the Koiches Pnimium, surrounds the Moyak, but it still relates to the Koiches Pnimium. It's a makif that is associated with the Koiches Pnimium. And then on top of that, higher than that, there's a level of Keren. It's totally beyond any connection with the Pnimium. Oikein who the Neshama in similar vein is concerning the Neshama. Keren HaNeshama, Etzem HaNeshama. That what's considered the Keren of the Neshama, that's the essence of the Neshama. If so, once we've established that there's an even higher level than the Rosh of the Neshama, the Rosh of the Neshama, we said, is impacted by the person's not doing what he's supposed to do because it, at least in concerning the Giluyim of it, it become revealed and so on. But the essence of the Neshama, the essence of the Neshama should not be able to be affected by anything. So when you understand what Moshe Rabbeinu said and asked by Hashem, that we quoted in the beginning of the Maimer, Torum Keren Yisrael. How will the Keren Yisrael be raised up? Or seemingly, how is it possible there should be a descent in the essence of the soul? We can say the explanation, and this is where does the descent apply? How is there a descent? What is the purpose? What's the entire intent of the neshama coming down here below? To influence and affect the body. Therefore, when the neshama does not fulfill its purpose, so then all the levels of the neshama suffer because of it. All the levels of the neshama descend and lose something because of it. Gamba etzem shalosh yard, even in its essence that descended below. So even that level that descended below is also something that loses out because of the descent of the lower parts of the neshama. Pisa, according to this, comes out as follows. We differentiate between these two descents. What happens to the head of the neshama, what happens to the essence of the neshama, the keren of the neshama. So the descent that through the head, in the level of the rosh of the neshama, it's because on the level of the head of the neshama, since it has still some connection, some value over there, and some comparison to the revealed soul powers, to the koiches pnimiyim. Since it's a transcendent level that's associated with the pnimi, therefore, what happens with the revealed soul powers affect in it some type of change. But the change is the change is only in the manifestation and the revelation of the makif to the pnimi. That's where what happens to the pnimi impacts the makif part, not in the essence of the makif, but only in regards to its function and revealing itself to the pnimi. That's impacted by what happens in the pnimi. What about the level that's higher than the rosh of the neshama? Level that's the essence, the keren. and the descent that occurs through a sin. In the essence of the soul, it's not that the matters, the revealed soul powers, affect a change in the essence of the neshama, in the keren of the neshama, but rather there's no the aveda or the negative things cannot directly impact it, but rather it's just that there was a purpose, there was a reason. It was not fulfilled, that purpose and that reason, that the neshama came down here below. So because that purpose and that reason was not fulfilled, therefore it doesn't. It's missing something. So it's not like the Rosh and Neshama that's directly impacted. It's a relatively, if you will, weaker impact. The fact that its outcome, its result, the Kodesh Pnimim not fulfill its mission, so that impacts the whole Neshama. Shloimer, we could say, the Zel Mashakos of God, the Goimer, Karen Yisrael. That's what it says, that he cut off the Karen Yisrael. The Gemoshe, the Karen Kipshudai, just like a physical horn, the horn of an animal. Hashin, we should not the Karen, they should dig the Maharash. The change that occurs in the horn when it gets cut off from the head, She'ein Ba'atoikiv, Shahaya by Tchila, it doesn't have the power and strength that it was initially. Not that the head affects a change in the horn. It's only because it's cut away from the head. That of the Ubaker and the Neshama in a similar vein is concerning the horn of the Neshama. The change that happens through the sin to the Karen of the Neshama, it's because it didn't impact the revealed powers, the Ein Mishlemis as a Kavanas Yedidas Lamata. It doesn't fulfill its purpose of descent down here below. In other words, it's been cut off. It has no association anymore because of that lack of fulfilling its purpose. Let's go on top of page 3, according to this, we could say the Bamir is HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe Kisisas Rosh Bnei Yisrael, when Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu that when you will count, but also raise the head of Bnei Yisrael, Shnei Inyan. There are two components in Hashem's statement to Moshe Rabbeinu. One thing is Sheyisa v'Yagbias Rosh Bnei Yisrael Mefurish B'Kra, that Moshe Rabbeinu will raise up and make higher the head of the Bnei Yisrael, like explicitly stated in the pasuk. Another topic, another concept, that's not explicit in the written Torah, but it's only revealed in the oral Torah. In other words, in the Gemara, in that whole story that we had with Moshe Rabbeinu's conversation with Hashem, through the fact that you will raise the head of the Bnei Yisrael, Tia Gam Haramas Keren Yisrael, will also be the raising of the Keren Yisrael as well. The Gemara said that when Moshe Rabbeinu asked, Keren Yisrael, with what will the Keren Yisrael be raised up, which the pasuk does not explicitly speak about, speaks only about the Rosh Bnei Yisrael. So Hashem answered him, Amar Loi, in Kisisa. So the Rebbe is being medayek in the word, not with Kisisa, but in Kisisa. De Kisisa ye oidinyan. Through Kisisa, as Rosh Bnei Yisrael, you will have another thing, will result from it as well. You will not only have that the Rosh Bnei Yisrael will be raised up, but also Tarum Keren Yisrael. According to this, we can explain what Rashi wrote. In Basel Lossis Rosham Bahagabot, if you're coming to raise their head, but by raising it up, Kachmem Kaifelitzdaka, take from them an atonement for tzedakah. V'lo yitnu kaifer l'tzedakah k'losh nakasu v'nosni ish kaifer nafri. It doesn't say that if you're coming to raise up their head in a height, it doesn't say they shall give kaifer, but they, like the pasuk says, they shall give. And we asked earlier in the Maimer, right away at the beginning, the pasuk says ki yitnu, and when Rashi says about raising, it speaks about ki yitchu, when you will take, or kach mehem. So why is there this difference? Because it depends. Is it the roish or is it the keren? Like he says, kinesi agbos roish bnei Yisrael. Why they nesinas koif? The raising up and elevating the head of the bnei Yisrael. It's through the giving of the atonement. V'nosnu ish koifer nafri, that every man should give the atonement for his soul. They trying to see us roish bnei Yisrael. They trying to see us roish tavi ladram is keren Yisrael. But so that we should be able to get to that second state, that the raising of the head will bring to the raising of the keren of the Yidden. So then you need to have a further step. Through Moshe taking from them the kaifer. In basa losses roisham bagba, to quote Rashi, if you're coming to raise up their heads in a height, kach mem kaifer tzedakah, take from them the kaifer to tzedakah. As the Maimer will explain soon, the meaning between all these things, how you get from roish to how do you get from roish to keren, and how do you get from what's the difference between giving and taking, etc. Okay? This will be understood by prefacing what it says. He says with Parsha Seinu, because again, Parsha Shkolim, when the Rebbe said this Maimer in that year, in Tafshin Lamed Aleph, it was Parsha Mishpatim. So he says in Kesef Talves Am, when you will lend money to my nation. Isa Medrash, and it's brought down a Medrash, Amra Kadosh Baruch Hu in Kesef Talve es imi bechirek taksa'ai. When you will lend money with me. In other words, do not read it as Ami, my nation, but imi, with me, with a chirek under the eye. But the Badrushim, it's explained in the Mamorim, it says that this is the great quality of doing acts of kindness. Loaning money is called a gemach. Until through lending another Jew money, considered Hashem says, Imi, you are now with me. Imi b'mchitzasi, you are with me in the same enclosure. You are together with me in the same room. This is similar to what it says. The Navi says, Hashem says, I have desired kindness, but not a carbon. So we see the special milah that Chesed has over karbonis. What does that mean? Even though that also karbonis used in the word zevach is Hashem's will. Just open up Chumash Vayikra. There's so many commands about bringing karbonis. Obviously, it's Hashem's will. So what does it mean? Ki chesed chafatzti v'loy zevach. So he says, "Mikol makim kiva she'inin karbonis u'alam al matal ma'ila." Since the idea of karbonis is a raising up below to above, the ultimate purpose is to draw down godliness down here below. And the Hashem desire to have a home down here below. Therefore, the will and the karbonis is not on the karbonis themselves, but rather for the hamshacha that takes place afterwards with the libations. In other words, in the karbonis itself, the carbon itself goes up and is burnt with a fire. The fire is about Molmata Lamaila, the elevation, like fire goes from below to above. The pouring of libations, that's going from above to below. So that's the part of the karbonis that symbolizes the hamshacha from above to below. Isa the Gemara, like it's brought down the Gemara, Kalakodik, Yashma Blay Filin, he could have oil Blay Mincha Valeva, Zevach when it's Achim. Whoever reads Krishma without donning tefillin, it's as if he brought a carbon oil without a mincha, and he brought the other carbonis, shlomim, without the libations. In other words, Kriyashma is again like limser nafshe be'echad. It's like carbonis. It's the part of davening where I completely raise up my soul. Tefillin is about the hamshacha, like mitzvahs do, the dir of taktonim, bringing down godliness into this world. But what do we see from the Scribe Chazal as well? The mezem mash mashakashehi kriv zavak v'loy nesachim and carbonic lump. From this, it's indicated that when he brings a zevach, when he brings a carbon without any libations, his carbonis is not worthwhile. It has no benefit. Why is that? With the Torah, because the Torah explains, because the elevation of the carbonis is like only a precursor, a preface to afterwards having the hamshacha through the nesach. In the footnote, he also mentions what I said before about tefillin and krishma is in the footnote about the krishma is about Allah and tefillin is about the hamshacha. Then the Rebbe goes on and says, "V'lechein," last line on this page, "Harotzon b'karbonis who k'moi chitzonius harotzon." Hashem's will that He wanted the karbonis. It says, "Chesed chapatzti v'loy zeva." It doesn't say that I do not want a zevach. I do not want karbonis. But it says chayfetz. Chayfetz is pnimius harotzon, meaning his inner will is in chesed, like we're going to, is because that's where you have the hamshacha that comes from above to below. You have the dir b'tachtonim. The karbonis is only preparatory for that. So it's like the chitzonius harotzon, as he's soon going to explain how that example works. The Rebbe is going to explain. So, okay, let's see the mashal that he gives. Derech Adam, for example, like a person, he says in the brackets, Sheroitzel in Soya, Leizem Makim Liknis. Person wants to travel to a particular place to purchase material for his business, to purchase items for his business. That his will in the trip is not because he likes travel. He doesn't want travel. He wants to be home. He wants to do his business, and that's it. The whole reason why he wants the trip is it's only for the sake of the profit that he will have through the business trip. So therefore, in a similar vein, we could say that the karbonis are only the chitzonius harotzon, like the business trip, but it's not the trip itself. It's not the purpose. The purpose damshach. The inner will of Hashem isn't the drawing down below. That's what it says. I desired chesed and not karbonis, meaning, again, it's not that he doesn't want the karbonis. He wants the karbonis, but chayfetz, nimius harotzon, chayfetz desire indicates the inner will. Which chesed, there should be chesed, which chesed is amshacha lamata, drawing down below. Just like I am drawing down and giving to someone less than someone that is missing something. The poor person, the same thing in a similar vein. I'm drawing down the amshacha. Chesed is about drawing down the amshacha from above to below. I want to go back to the previous page, to footnote 27, where the Rebbe says, even though he does not give this mashal of someone taking a trip to make a profit, that he doesn't really want the trip. He only wants the profit from the trip, so he gives that as a mashal for the karbonis versus the chesed, but he says it's not exact. footnote 27 on page 3. Avaloi mamish. It's not an exact analogy to say that Hashem's desiring chesed is in the same way, and is the same way like someone that wants a profit, and his desire or his wanting korban is like a person just wanting to go on a trip to get the profit. The Rebbe says, we could say the explanation of this is when a person wants to travel to a particular place to purchase material for his business, if this was available where he lived, he wouldn't travel anywhere. The only reason he's going on this trip is because it's not available here. It's only available somewhere else. As opposed to in the analogy, in the case in question, in other words, in our case that we're trying to speak about, this is Hashem's will. Hashem would not have settled, let's say, let's figure out a way how to bring the Hamshacha of Nesachim, or the Hamshacha of, let's say, Chesed, without prior to that having the Karbanis. No, Hashem wants both. He wants the trip and he wants the profit from the trip. And the fact that the Hamshacha comes about only through the preceding elevation, because that is the inner will of above and his true desire. And because that's the inner will of above and his true desire, that's why he wants to have the this hamshacha. He wants to have this this will of this will in both. He wants both the karbanis and the nesachim as well. So you have both the really the pnimius haratzon both in the karbanis, but it's akin to that. It's similar to that. It's all mitzvahs. In other words, in the previous footnote, he also said all mitzvahs, including karbanis, are Hashem's inner will. But within mitzvahs itself, the relationship, he says in note 26, the note beforehand, between the will that Hashem has in karbanis concerning the will that he has in the sachim, or the will that he has in chesed, is similar to the difference between chitzonius haratzon and pnimius haratzon. But you can't say that if he would have a different way of doing it, he would have done it. Right? Sure, he could have had a different way of doing it. And he wanted that the Hamshacha should come about through the Halach. He wanted to have the trip as well, not just getting the profit from the trip, and therefore he would have avoided the trip if he could have had it without that as well.